Do you want to flatten your stomach, but without doing crunches or all those typical things that people do at the gym that don't actually work? Watch this video and I'll tell you what it really takes to flatten your stomach. Hi, I'm Ivana. Welcome to my channel. If you're new, please subscribe and hit the bell to be notified. I'm all about getting you fit, healthy, and strong, and yes, a flat stomach is part of that. A lot of people have that as their goal, and I've been helping people do that for about 20 years now. So I've got some great tips coming for you, and at the very end, I'm going to tell you why crunches can actually be a really bad idea, and they can actually be dangerous for you. I'm going to break this down into 3 simple tips, and they are simple, but unfortunately, they're not easy. Number 1, lose belly fat. I actually created an entire video about losing belly fat, and I definitely recommend that you check that out. I'm going to include the link below. I'll also have it at the end of this video too, so you can continue on for that. Losing belly fat, just in the simplest terms, you need to manage your calorie intake and calorie expenditure. So you need to be in a calorie deficit. So a lot of people think they're in a calorie deficit. They think that they're not eating that much or whatever. But by definition, if you're not losing fat, if you're not losing belly fat, then you're not in a calorie deficit. So you need to either increase your energy expenditure or decrease your calorie intake. In some cases, modifying your macros may also make a difference. And that might be another factor that you need to consider. But producing a calorie deficit will reduce your belly fat, and that's the first thing. So you're losing fat all over anyway, and for a lot of people, the last place to go will be the stomach. So you're gonna have to lose a certain amount of body fat before you're starting to flatten things down around the midsection. So simple, but not easy. Number 2, do TVA exercises. So as opposed to crunches, which are primarily working the rectus abdominis, TVA exercises, that's the transversus abdominis. So it's often thought of as the lower abdominals, but it's not really just in the lower abdominals. It's actually all the way around, and it's the inner abdominals. So your abdominals are in layers. So you've got them underneath. The rectus, the six-pack muscle, the rectus abdominis is actually on the outside, but inside, at the very inner part is the TVA, or sometimes called the TA, depending on your terminology. And that's actually, it's a big wide muscle. We often feel it just coming in, like if you touch where your hip bones are and come in a little bit, but it actually is right under, and it's larger than most people think it is as well. And it wraps right around and it helps to support your back. A lot of people have weak TVA muscles, and that means that their stomach is kind of bulging out at the bottom, even if they are quite slim and don't have a lot of fat, they're bulging out at the bottom. So TVA muscles can actually help pull things in, and knowing to activate those when you're either sitting or standing can help tighten things up and improve the appearance. So it's going to flatten your stomach. I'm gonna go through a few of those exercises, the ones that are really important. So the important thing when you're doing TVA exercises is that you first need to learn how to activate that TVA. And normally it's easiest for people if they're lying down on their back, and then you're gonna have your knees bent. And the first thing that you're gonna do, because you've got a natural arch, your lumbar arch here, so that should normally be in there. What you're gonna do is just place your hands under there and then flatten, press down with that arch onto your fingers. So then you're squeezing, and by doing that movement, you should be able to start to feel the TVA in there. So you're pressing down, but really you can feel a contraction on the other side. So normally I have clients find it where the hip bones are, and then just coming in a couple of, maybe an inch or 2 in, and then you just press down very hard, because it's not the one on the outside, that would be your rectus. It's coming all the way, your rectus abdominis comes over the front, but just very deep underneath, and it's just a subtle movement. So as you press flat, then you should feel that area contract underneath your fingers, and then you release and you go back into a natural arched position. So if you look underneath my back there, I'm going back to a regular arch, and then we're going to do another contraction. So you flatten your back and hold for 1, 2, 3, and then release. So this one, when you're starting out, you can just do 3 sets of 10, and you're going to be doing it, hold each of those for 3 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, feel that squeeze, and then relax it back so you have that lumbar curve again, and then press down, 1, 2, 3, and then relax. And that's the TVA contraction. Now, once you've learned to activate the TVA correctly, we're going to move on to the next movement. So you're in the same position to start off. You want to flatten that arch to activate the TVA. And now you're going to lift one foot and then bring it back down again. And then you're going to lift the opposite side and bring it down again. So initially, you're probably only going to be able to do one lift and come back down before you feel like you have to release and then let go of that, let go of the TVA at the front. Eventually, you'll be able to do more in a row. So we're going to start this. Maybe you start with 5 and that's okay. So press flat first and then do a march, lift. So you're squeezing, keeping the back flat during that. And then switch. Same kind of thing. And then back down. And then lift. And keep switching from side to side just gently. And always focusing on maintaining the contraction here at the bottom of the TVA. The next exercise is going to start from the same position, flattening the back first to activate the TVA, and then you're going to move the foot, just slide across the floor, just slightly up off the floor, and then back. And then you want to maintain your contraction. You can actually have a rest here in between, and then squeeze again, contract, and then out with the other foot. And back. So it's just a foot slide. You don't need to do a big lift or anything like that. Just keep it along the floor, gentle, and then back. So those are the TVA foot slides. And now we're going to go into the TVA seated squeeze. So I'm going to show you this from a couple positions. You can have your legs crossed here. And the first thing that's going to happen is that you're going to breathe in and out. And as you breathe out, you pull your stomach all the way in as far as you can possibly go. And then you're going to breathe out and pull it even further in. So you're going. So you do this silly little breathing. I'm going to show you this one from the side. So just sit however you're comfortable. If you can't do cross-legged, that's fine. You can do this with your legs straight out in front as well. Whatever's comfortable. So from the side here, first I'm breathing in and out. And then so I just done 10 there, and that's pretty challenging. You can work your way up to about 30. But the whole idea is that you want to squeeze even tighter each time that you squeeze out. Sometimes I call this a pull. So you pull, 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 and just keep pulling in. So you feel the inner abdominals or the lower abdominals, the TVA contracting as you do this exercise. Now this last exercise is just a variation of the one that we did in the seated position. And you need to be up against the wall. And you're going to bring yourself just a little bit more than 90 degrees. And you're going to do exactly the same thing that you did on the floor. So what you're going to do is breathe in, breathe out, and you're drawing your stomach in as far as you possibly can, focusing on the lower abdominals, keeping your back flat against the wall as well. So think about that when you did the TVA on the floor. It's the same kind of thing here. You've breathed out as far as you can, and now you're going to do the same kind of breaths. So this is a progression from the seated one. It's a little bit harder. Sometimes it's good to try it from different positions just so you can get the feel of it. Eventually you want to be able to do the contraction in any position. So as you're moving around, you can feel that contraction. That's really what it's about, developing the functional strength in the abdominals and really tightening up that TVA to keep the stomach flat. it's really important to do those TVA exercises on a regular basis so that you can keep that area strong, and then it'll keep your stomach feeling flat. And the last thing, number 3, is reduce digestive bloating. I actually already created an entire video about reducing stomach bloating, so you definitely want to check that out. I'm going to link it below as well as at the end of this video so you can have a thorough look. But to simplify, number 1 was have smaller meals so that you don't have as much in your stomach at a time. It makes it easier for your digestive system to cope with the food that you're eating. Number 2 was reduce gas-producing food. So those are the typical things like beans, cruciferous vegetables like the broccoli and cauliflower, that type of thing. And also things containing fructose can be a problem for some people. So that may be some fruit, for sure, but some vegetables as well. So asparagus and zucchini, those are some vegetables that also have fructose, which may cause bloating as well. The one thing I didn't mention was that raw vegetables can actually be much more difficult to digest than cooked vegetables. So a lot of people think that if they're eating salads and they're doing themselves a great thing, and then all of a sudden they're like bloated out to here, right? I have a hard time, because I have digestive issues, I have a hard time dealing with raw vegetables. So I can only have small amounts of raw vegetables. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult. When the food is broken down to a certain extent by cooking, whether you're roasting it or baking or steaming, then it actually helps your body to absorb those nutrients as well. So you can reduce your bloating, and that'll keep your stomach a little bit flatter. And the third thing was not drinking liquids with your meals, because again, you're going to have a larger amount of stuff in your stomach, right? So you want to keep it small meals and try not to drink water with your meals. Have it apart. So if you're going to drink your liquids, then have it at least like half an hour before or an hour after your meals, and that will help reduce your stomach bloating. So I've just given you 3 simple tips, simple but not easy, for flattening your stomach. And if you follow all those through, your stomach will get flatter. It just takes a little bit of patience and some time to achieve it. And now, what you've been waiting for. Why are crunches such a bad idea? And I don't want to say that they're a bad idea for everybody, because if you are a strong person, an athlete, a physique competitor, a bodybuilder, something like that, crunches may actually be a useful thing. They do help to define the rectus abdominis. That's the six-pack muscle, and you want to be doing them preferably in lower rep ranges, just like you would do with any other muscle group. But the reason that they're not a great choice for most people is that, number 1, people don't use great technique. So they're jamming their neck up and down, so you make your neck really sore. A lot of people don't do enough back work, so they're not doing, say, Superman exercises or bird dogs to strengthen the back muscles as well. So they're doing a lot of work forward. And if you think about what we do in our daily lives, we're often forward anyway. So we're sitting, we're at our computers, we're all hunched forward this way. So if people are just doing crunches, and maybe they're doing just cardio and crunches, and I've seen that a lot at the gym, it's actually quite common. And that's probably one of the worst things to do, because you're not strengthening your back, you're only making things worse. So you're putting a lot of stress on your back, probably by doing crunches with poor technique and also short range of motions. For most people, crunches are not necessary, and you don't need to do them to have a flat stomach. So hopefully you learned a little bit about flattening your stomach today. If you did, please hit that like button. And I also want you to head over to my website, ivanachapman.com, where you can pick up a copy of my free ebook just for joining my email list. And if you're new here, subscribe and hit the bell to be notified, and I look forward to seeing you soon.